pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Mrs. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Helms?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Dr. Marion?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mrs. Bird?
Yes.
Mr.
Here.
I need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Dr. Marion, second, Mr. Christopher. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have our consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion.
Mr. Pratt, second, Mr. Helms, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Financial report, please.
All right, good evening. Thanks for having me. Before I start to talk about the next, well, these financials and then the budget and then the insurance. We'll get tired of me pretty soon, but I'll start with the financials. I kind of on this update, I focused on more of the future because the year is almost over and some of our revenue sources that have changed. Two that are definitive were the basic formula for this year was lowered by $10 just because the state didn't have enough revenue. The memo we saw blamed on gambling revenue going down, so that's why they couldn't fully fund it. And then IDEA was limited to reduced by $311,000. They did say that we should be able to get that next July, which is we'll file for it again. That was, again, federal funding wasn't enough. And then our early childhood special education, they haven't said anything about that yet, but just looking at what they've given us compared to what our request, that's about another $300,000 short. So that's for this year's revenue. The good side is we are going to finish in the positive this year, probably by slightly over $1 million. Frankly, today we spent a lot of time worrying about next year and not necessarily closing out this year, but we got to just enough of the numbers together to know that, you know, our expenditures came in under and our revenues might finish slightly under. There's a couple of revenue sources we still have to record, and then, you know, things could hit today. Same for our medical could hit, you know, today before midnight since we're cash basis. But overall, I'm comfortable saying we're going to finish in a surplus for this year, despite those three sources of funding going down, and it's out of our control and it's out of the state's control too, because it has to flow from the federal down to them. And then for next year, the big outstanding item I had when preparing the budget was what was basic formula going to be. The estimates, they ranged $6 million, you know, as if stays the same at $6 million left, and it's the highest at $6 million more. It appears, based on what I've seen, as the governor signed it as is, the formula as is. That's not to say some of it can't be withheld or if the revenues aren't there. That's good news for us because we didn't take the full amount. So if it does get reduced by $10, $20, $30, we're not going to be in an under budget situation. But the fact that it is fully funded will probably help us if some of those other sources are reduced next year, like the IDEA again and the ECSC. So my recommendation is going to not be to spend any of the extra we get. Let's wait and see what all of our revenues finish at for the year. But overall, it's definitely better news than I thought. I was ready to celebrate once I saw the governor sign the budget. So, and then I think overall, since we're at the year end, like I said, the revenues are probably going to finish slightly under what we budgeted, but the expenditures are going to finish, you know, $3 or $4 million under budget, which is really good. So we're going to finish the year in the positive. Do you have any other questions about the month-end financials?
I need a motion to approve the financial reports as presented. Mr. Helms, second. Ms. Bird, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Full business.
Old business, we have Mr. Whittle's going to run the show again, and a couple weeks ago we presented a draft budget for the 25-26 school year, and gave you a little bit of time to review that. And Mr. Whittle's back to present that again for final approval as is required by the state. So, turn it over to Brian.
All right. And I realize nothing has changed from that book from what you saw 2 weeks ago. I, you know, wouldn't have been updated today for the new revenue numbers. So that's if I were to change the budget today, I would probably reduce the IDEA a little bit, the ECSE a little bit, and increase the basic formula. But I would keep all the expenditures where we showed them now. Do we have any questions? Or?
I did have a question.
Sure.
My question was, I noticed the textbooks and library budget line was decreased by almost 30%.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we did a whole lot with curriculums and that could definitely change, but I was hoping to get a better understanding, why such a drastic change in that?
Category? Sure. This is more of it's probably an accounting issue is how I would describe it. So DESI's very rigid on what we can put in that textbook line, so it's a physical book that's gonna last more than a year. So if you think of how we purchase now, our curriculum expenditures are about gonna be 2 million higher in 26 than 25, so we're buying a lot of books. They're just digital resources now, or, we have the rights to print out those, the worksheets, but none of those go into the library and textbook line because they're not gonna last more than a year, or they're digital. So it's more the technology supplies, which goes up, and then the general
Yes.
supplies. It really, you'll see that those seem high right now, but a lot of those general supplies, tends to be where we have the savings. We kind of budget it the most, but what will get spent out of there is the curriculum-related items.
Awesome, thank
Yeah.
you.
Any other questions?
I've got one, and maybe it might be for Dr. St. Pierre, maybe Aaron. Page 16, certified staff. It's kind of laying out all the various different positions and the quantities that we had. Other, what is other? We have 3 positions in other. Any idea what that would be?
Oh, shoot.
I would probably have to look that up, and, yeah, I see that in there. I would have to look it up, and
It, page 6.
it's,
Is it under certified or classified?
Classified.
classified.
Okay.
And really, that might be like
If you're
me
all
and
looking
Aaron,
digital,
because
Right.
we're not certified teachers.
Because we would be under, I don't know that there is a field on here that is like a non-certified administrator, which like both of us would be
Yeah.
non-certified.
So, and we really tried to limit the other, because that's
Sure.
the clear question, it's the
Yeah.
correct question to have, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just gonna start calling you the
Yeah, that's fine.
We can make t-shirts if
Been
you
worse.
guys like them.
Yep.
Other, one another, two.
That's how it's pulled from a report in our financial system,
Yeah.
right?
It really, I'm thinking there's a good chance
Kinda has
it's
to do with
the
that.
3 of us, because we're all not
You're
certified
the
teachers.
Yes, yes. But all of the positions that are in SISBN, none of them have an other tag. They're all, legit.
Yeah, 'cause
Legit
even-
named positions.
Yeah, I think even like the custodians, I kind of combine that, because there's different levels based on your management. There's just some other positions like that where I just put it all in one, even though there could be like an office professional 1, 2, or 3. We just combine them, so we essentially fit on one page.
Any other questions? Right, I need a motion to adopt the 25-26 budget. Mr. Hall, second. And Dr. Marion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? New business.
Okay, thank you. One item under new business, and it's Brian again, and Brian's gonna present our insurance renewal recommendations for 25-26 school year, so that we can begin to start making plans and get folks signed up during our enrollment windows. Brian, if you just kind of paint a big picture on where we are with particularly with like our health insurance, and then kind of go down to what the recommendations are, and we can ask any questions. Thank you.
So just big picture on our health plan, it's not part of this budget, it's kind of its own. Those premiums come in and they go into like a trust type account to pay the claims as they go in. We're essentially at a 0 status, like there's not a reserve in that account like I would want. So that's why we're raising premiums, because we have to raise premiums to match those claims. So in that fund, the last few years, claims have exceeded the premiums we've collected. So we've had to make a transfer from the general operating funds at year end into there. We will have to make a small one this year, but it was already budgeted, and I have one budgeted for next year. Big picture plan is 2 or 3 years to stop those transfers, and truly our premiums, what we collect in premiums reflect the claims. We've also made changes to the plan. I think they're positive changes. We're getting a lot of good feedback from the things we've added, but we've added, digital resources for, say diabetes, where you get your test strips for free. Well, it turns out that people that are regularly testing those things spend less money in claims than others. So we just added a bunch of programs like that to cut down on claims while not reducing services. And last year we renegotiated our rebates. So that was great. It's about $2 million more a year we'll get. And we actually just got our first payment under the increased level because it would have started the October 1st plan year, and then it takes about 6-7 months before you start getting your rebates in. So that's really helpful, and that should shorten the gap. But, at the same time, we're doing all these things and increasing our premiums, but claims go up. I mean, let's face it, if anyone has to buy medicine and things like that, you just know the prices are only going in one direction. So we're trying to limit the premium increases, especially in what employees pay, but there's the realistic side is we've got to stop supplementing from our general fund. The health plan needs to pay for itself. So having said that, we're recommending a 5% increase. That was budgeted. So that first line, it's currently $800 per employee, and it's $840. I think just a few years ago it was $600. So that's how our plan started to go down. So we've really raised it a lot recently. And then the next three lines are the change in the employees. So say if you have a spouse, it's going to go up $48 a month or $24 a check. And then, we're in a cafeteria plan, so it's pre-tax. So it ends up being it's closer to $20 a check, which is a lot for a person to have reduced. But we do have the high deductible plan premiums, so that's actually lower than what they're paying now. So people on family there's a choice to pay less in premiums, but the flip side, maybe you pay more in claims out of pocket. But we've really tried to present an option this year that's more attractive for families and just acknowledging the cost. So that's our medical plan, and that's just one of our many recommendations. There's no changes to the structure of the plan. I'm not a big fan of raising premiums and changing the structure at the same time. I try to do one or the other always be what I would prefer to do. And then from there, our stop loss fee, we don't know what that is yet. It should be held flat. That's our additional insurance. So any claim over $350,000, we have insurance to pick up, which, you think of that. That's just one person with $350,000 in claims, and we probably have 10 people hit that number. And then they start to, if the same person's on that list, what they do is they call it lasering it out. So essentially we have to pay all that person's claim the next year. So our stop loss insurance is very important, and it's $57 per employee per month. That's how much it costs just to have that insurance. And then with adding the high deductible plan, one thing we'll need approval on is adopting a health savings account through Aetna, and that's an administrative fee of 65 cents per month per user. So we're not going to have that many employees. I'm thinking it's going to be between $100 and $200 a month that first year. I mean, hopefully 5 years down the road we have a lot of employees in the plan, but realistically first year we will not. The Zoom Care agreement is going up 13 cents, but that was approved in 2021. It's pre-approved. One change in our structure is there used to be separate plans for bus drivers, and the only thing that was separate was bus drivers didn't get implants on their dental. Well, if you talk to the bus drivers, that was the one thing that was really annoying. I mean, when you get to a certain age and you're the dentist, those are the things you need. So we combined the plans. The bus drivers now have the exact same benefit as every other employee, and it's been about a 5-year road. With that, though, bus drivers with family will pay roughly $10 more a check, wife and kids than they were before. But conversely, someone that just covers their children is going to have about a $15 reduction per check, because we used to not have that tier, so they had to go into family. And we did the same thing with vision. We added those tiers so you didn't just go from employee to family. So it's in both dental and vision, there are some people that's going to pay a little bit less, but there's also a group of people that will pay, a little more, and then a group of people that will pay less as well. And we are recommending to stay with Delta. We could have, the MMA did the bid, there was options not to stick with Delta that would have saved the district money, but the disruption was really high. So the disruption, I look at it two ways. I don't want to be disrupted when I go to the dentist, and me and Tiara and the benefits department don't want 100 phone calls saying, why can't I go to my dentist anymore? So it is kind of a quality of life. Like, if you try to penny pinch too much, then you've ruined your benefit plan and you get unhappy employees. And then the other one was with Vision, and we received bids from 4 or 5 carriers. VBA was the incumbent, and they had the best rate, so that really worked out for us. And same thing where they're converting their tiers. So the family rate will increase by $250 a check, but then the other two, if you cover just your spouse or your kids, you'll actually pay less. And then employee-only coverage as always is fully paid. And that vision rates are locked for 4 years, which is great, and dental is 2 years. So, we're not going to come here next year with an increase. We actually have a decrease in costs in the future. And then the final thing that MMA bid for us was our life insurance, our voluntary life insurance, and voluntary short-term disability. They did all three at the same time, so we get one carrier, get those negotiated savings. The bid's gonna work out to be about $65,000 less for the exact same coverage. For the voluntary, it's gonna be a little more, it's not a flat because it's based on your age and your income, but I looked at a 45-year-old teacher and their voluntary life will go up $1.50 a month. And if they have voluntary short-term disability, it'll go up $15 a month if you have full coverage. Not everyone has full coverage. So I didn't have a really good number. I'm just saying the worst case is someone could have $15 more for their voluntary short-term disability. But when we look at the dental bid, the vision bid, the life insurance, and the high deductible account, we're gonna have net savings of $51,000. And if you look at it, we've really increased the benefit. The frame and out allowance went up a little bit, and bus drivers now have implants covered. So I think that's a pretty good trade-off for $50,000 in savings.
Questions?
So there's a lot, I mean, it's really 5 items we're adopting, so it was a lot to go through.
All right. Any motion to approve the recommendations?
Make a motion.
Mr. Christopher, second. Mr. Helms, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right. Thank you. Okay. Awesome. This concludes our agenda. We will not return to open session after closed session. We need a motion to go into closed session in accordance with RMSO 610.021 to discuss the approval of the minutes from the June 16, 2025 closed session meeting, hiring, firing, promotion of personnel, and legal matters. Mr. Helms, second. Mr. Pratt, roll call, please.
Mrs. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Helms?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Dr. Marion?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mrs. Byrd?
Yes.
Mr. Pratt?
Yes.
All right. Thank y'all.